This is where the fun begins.
But we've seen this movie before.
What's Sam Pittman known for?
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Is the Arkansas athletic program cursed? But you never know what the loudest mouth in the fan base and his wild band of misfits are going to say.
I have a river of Kool-Aid for basketball.
It's time to step inside the Hog Pen with your hosts, Razorback Zach and Marcus MC Carlton.
All right, what is up, everybody? Here we are on Wednesday night again this week. Marcus MC Carlton, Dylan Dmad Madden, inside the Hog Pen with you tonight. We are just a few days away from big baseball series down at Florida that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But before we do that, we got to get some major things out of the way here. D, how you doing, man?
Man, I've just been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, you know?
Yeah, I know the feeling, man. That seems to be the day-to-day thing. Hey, we want to remind everybody tomorrow, actually not tomorrow, I'm used to Thursday night. Friday morning, 101.1 The Answer, 10 a.m. Zach will be back in studio doing his radio thing just like normal on Friday mornings. Give him a call. Let him know how great he is. Let him know that you don't agree with anything he says, that you're going to put the ones up for Dylan and MC. 501-823-0965. He is obviously he's not going to be here with us tonight. He's still out on assignment, shall we say, and taking care of a few things, but he'll be back next week. But until then, Dmad and MC, we're playing Maverick and Goose tonight. And man, we got a big guest lined up here. We're going to bring in shortly. Former Diamond Hog Chris Lanzili is going to join us again to talk a little baseball and talk about some of this transfer portal madness that's been going on. Because if you've been following any of this at all, it doesn't matter the sport, and it's not just to Arkansas. I mean, you're seeing this craziness everywhere. But there was a big development that's happened within the last, I would say, 24 to 48 hours that includes Arkansas and as well Tennessee. And if you know the link there, then you know where we're going to go with it. But before we do that, man, let's get right to it. Let's bring Chris in here and let's talk some Diamond Hog baseball real quick.
There he is.
What's up, Chris?
My life. Thanks for bringing me on.
Hey, man, appreciate you coming back with us. Hey, I'm watching the midweek game right now, and Hogs are in control over Little Rock.
Shoot,
it didn't get the run rule today, but Little Rock's played a little better. They didn't have 5 errors in the first 3 innings tonight, so that makes a bit of a difference on how things go. But Hogs still in control. I believe it's bottom of the 7th right now, and Hogs are up 3-0. So on these midweek games, man, what's the players' approach on these midweek games like this?
The players' approach, I don't think it changes too much unless it, like we talked about last time. Mm-hmm. You play like a Graham. Like I think usually Arkansas State's, or what is it, Little Rock?
Little Rock.
Arkansas?
Yeah, Little Rock.
Those are 2 separate schools.
Yeah, there's two different ones. Yeah,
I'm probably offending some people, but anyways, I
feel
like usually those schools are decent. It's just like there was a handful of schools that were like just god awful, but the game plan doesn't change. You're still facing. I remember some of those schools threw their best guys against us. So they really want to beat you. So it's like you can't like take them lightly, but you definitely get a little bit more of like an adrenaline rush when you're out there in an SEC series.
Sure.
So that naturally just takes over. I wouldn't say the game plan changes though.
Well, to piggyback off what you said about not taking anybody lightly on these midweek games, I saw where last night LSU got run ruled by Northwestern State. So I don't think there were any tears shed in the state of Arkansas about that. So anytime LSU can lose in baseball, that's a good thing. But that just also kind of speaks to how different baseball is because, football and basketball, yeah, you have flukes every now and then, but with baseball, it's just completely different. And, a couple things happen early in a game, something starts going against you, or if you're the underdog, maybe something goes in your favor and it can just kind of turn the game in an instant, and then you look up and you're down 7-0 in the 4th inning.
Yeah, that's baseball, but coaches like DVH don't let that happen that often, which is crazy. When I was at Wake Forest, unfortunately, we just like how I think Florida last year lost most of their midweek games. Mm-hmm. When I was at Wake, we had some unreal talent, but we just just never like threw strikes during midweeks or something. And we just did not handle those teams. I think that's kind of what separates, one of the many things that separates DVH is he doesn't lose those games. He's just super, just sound, and he doesn't let up no matter what. Super consistent.
I'll kind of piggyback on that. At Wake Forest, I don't know how they did their midweek games. I'm pretty sure like DVH uses those midweek games as, just call them development games. You get people in that don't really get to play as often as everybody else. But like even with the pitchers, like they go in there. It seems like they have the mindset of, hey, I've got to show up. I've got to have my best stuff going so I can make a weekend rotation. And, throwing strikes is the best way to get on the field. You can't just throw balls and expect people to swing and miss at all of them.
Yeah. I mean, you got to win those games. So you got to start off, kind of pounding those teams a little bit, and then you can get those guys in. But of course, DVH will give some guys a rest day on that day to get some of the backups in as well to get them experience, because especially with the transfer portal and guys staying in college a little bit, it's hard to start as a freshman now. So you got to get some of your freshman experience. So, so it's always hard at Arkansas to start as a freshman, but especially now. It's crazy.
Well, and one thing that I've heard maybe Matt Hobbs or Nate or maybe even Dave talk about this a little bit is sometimes on the midweek games, they want some of these guys to get in clutch situations, maybe 2 on, 2 out and a 2-run game. So if these guys happen to get put into the game against Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss in a similar situation, they don't come in scared to death. They come in and it's another situation for them that they've already seen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, coaches say that, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure you're getting in against Little Rock is
right. Yeah.
Is going to get you used to a situation against Tennessee in a big situation. But I mean, they can say what they want.
That's where that coach speak comes into play, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Cole Gibbler came in the 9th inning against Georgia on that walk-off home run. So, I mean, he's been pitching midweeks most of the time, but I mean, he's been kind of mowing down some of those midweek guys. So just having that enough trust in him to go to him in the 9th inning,
you're totally right. Yeah. The trust factor is huge.
Yeah. And he just got hit in the face with that. But Chris, let me ask you this. So if you come into a midweek game, or not a midweek game, you are playing a midweek game and the coach comes in and says, hey, I want you to pinch hit real quick. It's a do or die situation. And then you just get absolutely fooled on something, you're going to remember it. And it's the same thing as Cole Gibbler giving up that home run to lose the game. I mean, he's going to remember it and take it with him, right?
Yeah. And just like life, some guys respond better than others. So it's very, it's player to player, and it's the coach's job to kind of figure out who can handle that and who can't. And so that's why you saw some of those guys go in. I'm sure DVH knows that kid Gibbler has, 1, good enough stuff to be in that situation, and 2, he's not going to be a softy and crap the bed. I'm sure he had trust in him and put him in there.
So while we're talking about that Georgia game, let's go ahead and get into this. Hogs have lost 2 straight SEC series, which is a little out of the norm, man. I mean, especially one of the series being at Baum, and you lose that one there. But I felt like it was just a bad timing deal on playing Texas A&M because, let's not forget they were preseason number 1. They hit a bad slump to start the season, but now they're starting to play like everybody thought they were capable of. And it just so happens they put it all together the weekend that they come to Baum Stadium. Prior to that, you go down to Georgia and lose a very tough, hard fought series against Georgia. You lose the series on a walk-off home run. I mean, that, everybody, a lot of fans that are not baseball people are ready to hit the panic button. To me, is there some reason to be concerned here, or is this just how baseball is?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nail. It's how baseball is. I'm looking at the schedule moving forward. So we got Florida. I mean, we got Texas. I wanted to go to that series. It's the fact of the matter is it's a really hard conference, especially with the added Texas, Oklahoma, and just the 2 of them, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's not like if I'm looking at this am I going to hit the panic button? No, but obviously anything can happen. But I think just going back to that Georgia series, like that was that was just fun baseball to watch. Like I'd rather watch that game than any MLB minor league. That series was unbelievable, and it stinks to have to come out on the losing end of that because they got football. Like they got the best football. Let us have the baseball,
Yeah, no doubt.
So I really wanted them to win that one, and then A&M caught them at the wrong time. Like you said, like it just like back in 22. We had Ole Miss and Oklahoma in the finals. I mean, I don't think, and even us, like I don't think anybody projected either all three teams in the finals, and we were the last three standing, I think. And it's just when you get hot, like it's such a hot and cold sport, and you really got to hope that your team is hot, like going into the back half of the year. So, that's all that really matters in the sport right now. I mean, talent matters obviously, but when you're hot, it matters. The timing of when you're hot.
And there's some to do with adversity there too, because I've been telling MC, the past couple of years, we've won pretty much every series going into the postseason. So it just kind of hasn't felt like the team has seen a lot of adversity. So like for me, losing these past two series, I'm almost happy about it. I'm not happy, but I'm almost, they get to have that sense of adversity going into it. So they know whenever they get punched in the mouth in the postseason, they can respond to it because they've been there before.
Yeah.
I'm just crazy.
Yeah. No, I mean, you got a good point. I mean, I want to win every game, but yeah, I mean, going from that perspective, it's great. But seeing the people on Twitter that are like, we don't want to be number one. Somebody else take number one. And I'm the last guy to complain about Twitter because I don't really care. People like I said last time, like people should do their own thing. Like yell at me. I don't give a shit. But I mean, saying you don't want to be number one, like that doesn't affect the way things go. Like as much as you think it does, like that doesn't put a target on your back any more than being number two does. You know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy that people are so I don't know what the word would be, but a particular way about that.
Crazy is
the word. Yeah. That's a good word. That fits a lot of different levels of Razorback fans. But all right, so we're gonna go Coach Chris Lanzili here on this next question. You are in the shoes of DVH getting ready to go down to Gainesville this weekend and play Kevin O'Sullivan. Great Florida program, a lot of history there. And you may be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's a lot of similarities in the way that DVH and Kevin O'Sullivan O'Sullivan both coach their approach to the game. But if you're in DVH's position right now, what are you telling the guys as they get ready to go to Florida this weekend?
Damn, they got him not a coach because I probably have a horrible speech, but I think that just, we've been consistent all year. I mean, let's play our style of baseball. Got to be honest, I haven't been too like, I'm not going to name off the top of my head who's been hitting lately, but I think some guys have hit a little bit of a slump, huh?
Yeah, so, that's safe to say.
Yeah, I think kind of just keeping the elephant in the room quiet and letting your guys do their thing. And then, he knows when it's time to push the panic button. I think it's just kind of, keep it in cruise control. We have lost 2 series in a row, but we're a great baseball team. And this Florida team has got a lot of talent, but they're not super great at winning games. So we just got to play our game and play fundamental ball the way that DVH's teams usually do. And hopefully I'm never giving a speech because that wouldn't work.
Don't beat yourself.
Well, and that's we laugh at that with what Dylan just said, but I think that's a big piece of it because if you go back to, I think it was the last game of the Georgia series, Georgia had 5 errors in that game and still managed to get it not only into extra innings, but end up winning the game. I mean, if you force a team, if a team, your opponent has 5 errors, you got to find a way to take advantage of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I do remember that. And I did notice that. And I was just kind of appalled. And the way some of their kids were acting, it was just pissing me off, especially after a 5-hour game. I really thought we should have won that game. But I don't know. It just felt like even the game that we did win, it felt like we get some momentum and then we just give it right back. Like we just we wouldn't capitalize on their mistakes as much as an Arkansas team usually would. And I think moving forward, they should be fine with that.
Going back to the A&M series just for a minute, when you have a guy like, and I'm going to butcher his last name, but you're going to know who I'm talking about, Lavalier or Jake, the one that every time it seemed like every time he come to the plate, he at least had a double, if not hitting it out of the park. When you face a guy like that, I mean, what can you do when it just looks like he's got a beach ball coming at him every time he's at the plate? I mean, when a guy gets on a heater like that, what are your options other than just holding up 4 fingers and putting him on first base?
I mean, you got it right there. I mean, that's the kid Jace Laviolette, I think his name is.
Yeah, Laviolette. Yes. That's him. Yeah.
So, I mean, that kid's nasty. You don't want to give him. I mean, I'm not a pitcher, so I'm not able to. What do I know? But you don't want to give this kid anything to hit ever, and so you don't. So you kind of want to game plan around him. You don't want him to come up with anybody ever in scoring position if you have the opportunity to kind of limit that. He hits a solo home run, so be it. He hits a double, so be it. But key in on that guy and do not give him something fat to hit because he doesn't miss it very often. He's a beast. Yeah,
and I feel like for the most part, we didn't leave anything over the meat of the plate. There were no, I remember one slider that didn't slide, and I'm not sure that ball's landed yet because he hit it out over the scoreboard back there into the lake that's behind the scoreboard. And but the rest of it, I mean, it was just him making good hits off of pitches that were way inside or way outside. We were trying to stay on the corners of the plate, and he just, I mean, like you said, man, he's just nasty, and he was able to adapt and adjust and put good contact on the ball, even when it wasn't over the heart of the plate.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was one of the guys, or he probably was the guy that was not performing the way he is capable of at the beginning of the year. And, now that he kind of is, obviously, they're feeding off that, I'm sure. So, I mean, he's changed the way their season's gone, and now now I saw they were projected 2 seed. Like, what?
Yeah.
How the heck? That's crazy. Good for them, but I don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like anybody in the SEC other than Arkansas. So, I mean, I hate everybody equally. But it's, I think you got to go down and you got to have a good performance this week down in Gainesville against Florida, and then it doesn't get any easier because you come back and you have number 1 Texas coming in to follow that up. I mean, that's
I always, whenever Texas has a good team in any sport, I always kind of, put an asterisk next to it because 1, we don't like them, and 2, I feel like they're always flukes. But this year they actually look good at baseball. They've been doing their thing and they're performing in a really tough SEC. So, but I think that stops in a couple and next weekend, not this weekend. No, after this
next weekend. If there's a series that you need to go see, it's the Texas series. You have so much experience with the Arkansas fan base, but you don't have the Texas experience. I'm sorry, but it's gonna be crazy that weekend.
Yeah, it'll be nuts.
My problem with going to Arkansas is flying in stinks. That's the only part about it.
Yeah,
so expensive.
Oh yeah.
There is
in baseball, Arkansas and Tennessee, Arkansas and Ole Miss, there's no love lost there. But when Texas comes to town in anything, man, it doesn't matter if it's basketball, baseball, football, checkers, Candyland, whatever, that level of hatred goes to the moon when Texas comes in. And that's from, back from the old Southwest Conference days. But I mean, you'll see old heads in the crowd that normally just kind of sit there and, do their little golf clap thing, man. They'll be up and making all kinds of noise and raising hell and everything because Texas is here. Yeah.
You'll see preachers dang near cuss out Texas players.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, the Texas hate has no limit. So it's definitely going to be a fun one. And the fact that, both teams are going to be ranked so highly when that series happens is just fuel to the fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's sick. I mean, I hope Arkansas is ranked number 2 at that moment because, I mean, I'm going to have to pull a miracle to show up to that because if I look right now, flight's probably $1,000, but you probably won't see me there. But Maybe Tennessee on May 15th. We'll check it out.
that would be the next best one, I would think.
Yeah.
Since we got to go down to Alex Box and they don't come up here, I think that Tennessee one would be a good one to come back to as well, because there's, as you well know, there's no love lost there either.
Yeah, I mean, in my eyes, those are obviously Texas is number one. They're great, but in my eyes, Arkansas and Tennessee are the two most talented teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what me and MC were talking about before the show is, Arkansas and Tennessee have both had their lumps this year, but it's not something that me and him are overly concerned on. We're more just sitting there like, okay, it's kind of good that, for Tennessee, they haven't been talking as much as they have in the past because for whatever reason, let's just move that on. But, Arkansas is just, taking their lumps. Tennessee's taking their lumps, but that they're just a giant waiting to awaken. And it's just going to take one person to wake them up, and it's going to turn the whole thing on its head.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those two teams are – I don't mean to jinx it. You can pull this clip back up if they don't make Omaha, but those two teams are going to Omaha. And,
you talk about adding a little fuel to that rivalry there. If those two teams were to meet up in Omaha, oh my God. I mean, that would just be that. I think that would be bigger than it was in 22 when you guys were playing Ole Miss, because that, to me, that's who I hate the most in baseball is Ole Miss.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's sick when two teams, show up in Omaha and have huge fan bases like the two of those teams. So, I mean, it was us and Ole Miss at that moment in that year. I'm trying to think who else, but like Stanford didn't have a fan base. I mean, a couple of Notre Dame, I don't think had a fan base. Like, it's just sick when you have the whole stadium packed and like all the people just hate each other there.
Yeah.
And you're getting chirped left and right, and then other people are singing happy birthday to you, and then on another section, people are like loving, hating you over here, and it's so cool. I think it's the best thing ever for college baseball, and when big teams like that go to Omaha.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. It's going to be hopefully Arkansas can get back there this year, because I have missed, because if Arkansas is not there, I mean, I don't really want to watch Omaha because it's kind of salt in the wound, and it just makes me mad when Arkansas is not there. So, but hopefully, I got a buddy texted me earlier this week. He's like, hey, the wife and I have already secured our Omaha tickets, because they're baseball junkies and they're going to go no matter what. And I told him, I said, well, I hope you are a nervous wreck the entire time you're there, because that means Arkansas is playing and you're just not sitting back watching baseball. You're like into it and nervous like you normally are. So hopefully that's what happens there. We talked about Diamond Hog baseball early on, and in the first segment, talking about how maybe they dropped the last couple series. Things are not as we normally expect them to be, but we're going to shift gears a little bit now and talk about some of this insanity of the transfer portal. And I want to start with this because everybody knows you transferred in from Wake. You were a product of the portal, but I want to say that you were a product of the portal before it really got crazy and kind of went off the deep end.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I were there now, but I'd ask for $1 trillion. But no, yeah, I mean, my situation was like I could use the excuse, reality, that I wasn't getting into Wake Forest like grad school. So I mean, I don't really. It's not like I was asking for $1 million. I mean, the situation is so different nowadays. Obviously, what's like? I'm gonna botch the kid's name.
I'm gonna butcher his name too. I've been joking.
Liava.
Yeah, I've changed. I'm going with Madden. I'm gonna leave you. So
yeah, I think he should change his last name. No, but anyways, it's almost hard. Like, you never want to root against somebody. You never do in anything. But it's very hard to root for a kid like that is so greedy, and he's going to get paid in the NFL draft. This is not the money that matters to him.
Right.
And that's not me saying you shouldn't get NIL, because I'm not somebody to say that. I mean, I haven't seen an argument that's great against like not paying kids, considering they're paying the coaches, they're paying staff, obviously. So there might be an argument out there that I agree with, but I just haven't seen it yet. And so to see like Saban and a lot of he's literally my favorite. I love Nick Saban, but to see coaches that have benefited from college football and that have benefited, like he is college football. But to see coaches saying that after they've made so much money in college football is I think a little confusing to me. But even worse, seeing a kid like that is just so scummy. And take the money. You're making $2.7 million. In the NFL draft, you're going to make 10 times that. I mean, I don't actually know the number, so
it's pretty close. But
holy crap, I just think that was such a. And people are like, he screwed up so bad. He got screwed by UCLA. He's still making over $1 million, 1 point something million bucks. Like,
right.
I don't know. I think all college football should have just like blacklisted him. You know.
Well,
absolutely. God,
I mean, I'm kind of with you on that because, you know, everybody talks about, and this is just my fan perspective on this, but everybody talks about, you know, we got to pay these guys like they're pros and we got to treat them like they're pros. Okay, well, if you're going to be paid like a pro, then you should be held to the same standard that pros are held to as far as like buyouts and, you know, actual contracts that have to be abided by. And I think with what Hunter Yurachek has done here within the last 24 hours or so with Nico's little brother, you know, he had signed with Arkansas and was gonna be a freshman quarterback this coming year. He signed a 1-year deal, NIL deal with Arkansas back in January. And then he goes through spring ball. And then we get word earlier this week that he's going to transfer to UCLA as well and join his brother Nico, who left Tennessee to go to UCLA. And now Hunter Yurachek has come out and said, hey, we're gonna go after this kid to get some of the money back, you know, as kind of like a buyout. So I don't have a problem with that personally, because I feel like if you're gonna go this route and you're gonna have a contract, then there should be a buyout on the backside of it if you leave before your contract's up.
Were there public numbers available for how much the little brother was making?
I had seen. Here's the only number I've seen. The only number I've seen is that Arkansas is going after him for about $200,000. So I don't know if that's just what was, you know, remaining on the contract, or if that's what he had been paid so far, or what. But Arkansas is pursuing him for about $200,000 since he's decided to transfer over to UCLA.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think just the whole principle of it is like the $200,000 for Arkansas. I mean, the school's endowment is what? I don't think the $200,000 matters.
Ridiculous. Yeah. But it's more the principle of
matters that much. But I think it's the principle of just, you know, moving forward, having kids do this. Like, don't do it, or else we're gonna sue you. You know.
Yeah.
And you're setting a nice like if this goes through and Hunter's able to, you know, recover some of that money, you know, it's going to set a huge precedent going forward too. And it's going to affect all of college sports, not just football.
Right.
Yeah. If they're not gonna, you know, if the NCAA is not going to regulate this in some way, it's going to regulate itself. It looks like. I mean, these guys are these athletic directors and coaches are going to figure it out, and people aren't going to F with them anymore.
Yeah. I think there are a lot of eyes on this case, not only because Tennessee I believe they have now said they're going to go after some buyout money from Nico as well. So you've got Tennessee and Arkansas, both two very strong SEC programs that are now saying they're going to take legal action against players that transferred over not honoring their NIL contracts. I got to imagine that schools like, I mean, pick your name, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, Alabama, Texas, you know, they're all going to be watching these cases to see how they turn out. And I think that if let's say Hunter Yurachek and Arkansas are successful in getting their buyout money back, I think you will see these other schools that I just named off. One, they're going to change the way they do their NIL contracts to start with. And then two, you might see more schools go after players who decide to basically take the money and run.
Yeah, totally agree.
And it's going to be really hard for whatever the guy's name is, Papa Iamaleava. You know, it's going to be really hard for him to take on two very rich universities, and with access to the best lawyers in the world, and it's going to be really hard for that guy to take on as many lawyers as Tennessee and Arkansas can afford, with Arkansas also having access to the Waltons and unlimited money. But it's just going to be one of those things, it's crazy that it's gotten to this point, but everybody kind of knew it was going to get to this. But do you want to just let's go to our comments and see Mr. Zach Kerr is
Mr. Special Assignment himself.
Mr. Special Assignment is stopping in. And then we got Logan Evans. I kind of disagree with this point. I'm gonna put it up here. I'm gonna take it down because it covers Chris. I'll read it. It says, "Let's not talk about blacklisting players. Kids, it's always been about the money. Coaches have always done it. Look at what Lincoln Riley did, Lane Kiffin, only recent ones that come to mind. Maybe even Chip Kelly and the millions of adults that do it from regular jobs." And I agree with that slightly. They are kids. They are. However, whenever they got all these people in their ear chirping, they're making literal life-changing money decisions. And at that point, we have to stop treating them like a kid, because if they want to play the kid card, okay, you're playing a kid's game then, but at the same time, we maybe not blacklisting them. I get it, but there's got to be some type of repercussion for just, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. I mean, what was it in the early part of basketball season that Texas Tech wide receiver said, "This is my list of demands if I transfer to your school.
Oh, yeah.
Pick up, and I need private cars for my family."
Yeah.
Just all this list of demands. Okay, well, if you don't meet our expectations and you decide you're going to be hurt for half the year, then this is our stuff. So there's got to be a give and take, and these kids just there's a lot of taking and not a lot of giving. And I agree, they are kids, but at the same time, they're making man decisions, and they
I'll
need to be
address
treated like men.
I'll address this comment, and then Chris will get your take on what Dylan said here. Logan Evans comes back and says, in addition to his first comment, he says, "But they should somehow be responsible if they pocket money ahead of filling their obligations." That's all I'm trying to say, is that, I don't have a problem with them getting the money. I think it's gone a little off the rails from what NIL was intended to be, but if they're going to get the money, if they're going to sign a contract, I feel like they need to honor the contract. So, I mean, what's your take, Chris?
Well, I don't totally disagree with the kid that said you shouldn't blacklist players.
Right. Right.
Oh, I guess I should kind of step back a little bit and explain that comment a little more, what I meant, because I didn't explain it well. What I meant is, you have a player like that in a locker room. I'm not saying they should be blacklisted from the NCAA. I think anybody should have the chance to put that guy on their roster and do whatever, pay him whatever they want. I just think the coaches should have some sort of freaking group message or something saying, this guy is going to be a cancer to the locker room. He's demanding $4 million, already out talking to other schools behind our back. Mm-hmm. How's this kid going to affect the locker room? Does his talent outweigh how much of a
kind of like a job reference?
Yeah,
kind of like what?
Kind of like when you're filling out an application and they're asking for references. They're gonna put who's your last coach and put your high school coach, your position coach, and your head coach down, and maybe your coordinator or whatever.
Yeah.
Logan, talking about collective bargaining is a touchy subject, man.
Yeah.
That is a lot to unpack with the collective bargaining.
So Logan's got another comment, and we appreciate all the feedback. Logan, appreciate you being part of the conversation. They need a CBA or a players union that is set up, a contract that fulfills on the field as well as off. I kind of think that once the rev share thing kicks in later this summer, and I kind of think that's where you're headed. It may not be there immediately, but I think you're moving towards, players forming a players union and having a collective bargaining agreement, much like you see in the NBA and the NFL and MLB. Is this good for the college game? That remains to be seen. I would say no on the surface, but I can't see the future, so I don't know what it's going to do. But what's your thought on the CBA, Chris?
I don't know anything about it, but I'll give like just a little bit of I guess my thoughts on the whole thing. I mean, I just don't think it's great that you can, I did it myself, but I don't think it's great that you can switch schools, every year. I think there should be some sort of regulations on it, and I stand by that blacklist.
Yeah.
And here's something else that he put in. It says suspend them for a year if they take the money and not give it back. I'm fine with that. And here's the thing that would get back to the old way of transferring is you have to sit out a year, and that's why not very many people did it.
Yeah.
And it makes your decision on which college you go to a lot more important because, as you know, Chris, there's what do they call it? The clock. As soon as you start your eligibility, your clock starts, and it does. And nowadays it's kind of a little bit more gray area with medical red shirts and all that stuff. But once your clock starts, if you have a year that you have to sit out, it's going to make those decisions even more important than they are. And I just think going back to the old way of transferring is probably going to be the best. And then making the person actually have to pay a transfer fee, maybe of if you're leaving a small school, it might not be that big, but if you're going from like Power 4 to Power 4, then we have some money to talk about, but that could always be worked into your NIL contracts with your collectives and whatnot.
Yeah,
go
ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't realize you had a thought there. Go ahead.
No, just a quick little thing. I mean, it's unfortunate for the brothers there. I'm not going to pronounce their last name because I can't. That they kind of at some point somebody had to be kind of made an example out of in this situation, and it's very unfortunate for the players themselves. But I'd say it's kind of necessary to open people's eyes. Not that unfortunate because they're going to make their money, so they'll be fine. But I just wanted to add that in right there.
And $1 million in California is not a whole
right.
lot.
Yeah, there was a website that kind of broke it down about how much money that Nico was actually going to lose because you go from a state like Tennessee where there is no state income tax to the highest state income tax in the country in California. They have the highest tax rate of any state in the country. So not only is he going from 2.7 million down to 1 million gross, but his taxes are going to be higher. So he's only going to end up netting, maybe half of that money, $500,000, which is still an insane amount of money for somebody like me. But when you look at the deal that he had at Tennessee, and then he's going to this, cost of living's higher in Tennessee. Your taxes are higher. It's a really bad deal all around. And what I was going to say a while ago, these lightning bolts hit me. And if I don't say them right then, man, they're gone. But we've been very vocal about Nico and Madden, the brothers, and them doing their thing. But one thing that has not been talked about a whole lot, I've seen some of it from Tennessee fans, but it hasn't been talked about a whole lot. How much of this is Nico and Madden and how much of it is Daddy? Daddy getting in their ear and trying to tell them, look, I know what's best for you. I'm your dad. This is what you need to do. This is the kind of money that I think you should be able to get. How much of it is them not wanting to be disrespectful to their father who's telling them to do this? But at the same time, you're also talking 18 and 19-year-olds that, technically are not kids anymore, because I didn't agree with very much my dad said when I was 18 years old. I thought I was smarter than him. Little did I know that, he was, in fact, the smarter of the two of us at that point. But, you kind of see where I'm going here. I mean, maybe Dad is trying to overstep his bounds a little bit. What do you guys think on that?
I think it's tough because you don't really get interviews from the kids. You don't really get any insight at all. Like they don't have, I don't know. I haven't seen them posting on social media or anything. You don't really get their whole thoughts on the whole thing. So nobody really knows. Like it's just a guessing game now.
We got a comment here from Dan Yoakum, and we may be overthinking this, guys. He's got a pretty simple fix. He says, pretty simple fix in my opinion. My job doesn't pay me in advance. I work 2 weeks, then they pay me for 2 weeks. Hey, that maybe we're overthinking it. Maybe they just need to go on a regular pay scale instead of getting all this money up front.
signing bonuses.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so, but this is, I mean, until you get a case like this with Arkansas and Tennessee kind of going after these guys, it's like you said earlier, Chris, somebody's got to be made an example of. And unfortunately for these two brothers, they seem to be the ones in the bullseye right now that, are going to be the examples that are being made. But I mean, if it wasn't them, it was going to be somebody else, because eventually these coaches and administrators and honestly, the people who give money to the collective are going to get fed up enough to where they say, okay, now this isn't right. Because I can tell you right now, if I had given a lot of money to the Arkansas or the Tennessee collective with the intention of it going to Nico or to Madden, either one, and then these guys take the money and then end up transferring out, man, I'm going to be hot. I mean, I'm going to be really hot about that.
Yeah, it's gonna. I mean, a lot of bad things are gonna happen. I mean, you're not gonna get as much money from those guys, and it's gonna be screwing over a lot of other kids in the future. Mm-hmm. But another thing for Nico's situation is you're also you're losing the money. You're going to a state where the freaking tax is insane, and two. Mm-hmm. You're going from Tennessee to UCLA. Now, UCLA is a great school and all, but who cares about the school for him? Tennessee is sick. They got 100,000. Right. I mean, the campus is awesome. The fan base is awesome. I think Tennessee, Knoxville is awesome. And I don't know. I don't think the same thing about Los Angeles.
You're pretty close to, like, they always use the term big man on campus. Everybody walking down the street knows exactly who Nico Iamaleava is. And then you just decide, I'm just going to have this big negative publicity come out because I haven't been answering Josh Heupel's phone calls. I haven't been going to practice. I haven't been going to meetings. And I'm just going to go, you know what? I'm transferring.
Yeah. I think that's the unfortunate part about it. That's the part that kind of sent me to, like, whoever was arguing with me about the blacklisted comment. That's kind of the thing that sent me over the edge, where I was like, screw this kid. I mean, he seems like an a-hole in the in the clubhouse anyways, but could be a great kid, but it just doesn't seem that way with the decisions that he's making.
Hey, let me ask you, if you were not to answer DVH's phone call, what would happen?
I mean, he'd let you go. Of course. Yeah. Baseball is not nearly, in terms of financials, it's not nearly as big as football. So, I don't have that exact perspective, but DVH would let you go. And I'm sure Saban would have done the same thing.
That's what I was going to ask next. I mean, you said yourself you're a big fan of Saban. Imagine a player not returning his calls. I mean, that's mind blowing to me.
I just think simple, showing up in time, treating people well, doing this, doing that. Simple stuff like that is something that should be mandatory on a team, no matter how much you're making. You shouldn't hold out. It's college sports. There's something to the experience that I got in college sports is, I fell in love with Arkansas. Like, I was only there for a year. Like, the fan base was amazing. My experience was awesome. The bars, I was crawling down Dixon Street, hammered. I just had such a good experience with the whole college sports, and I didn't make any money. Like, I was the first year of NAL, but I probably made $2,000-3,000. Like, I didn't I wasn't railing in millions of bucks, and right. And that's not me saying that kids shouldn't make money, because I haven't seen any arguments against that have convinced me, but there's just something about it where it's very unfortunate that kids aren't going to be able to get that same experience. And it's unfortunate that I'm not going to be making $1 million.
Right.
And just to go on what NIL was supposed to be, it was supposed to be like you're getting endorsement money. It's not supposed to be setting up collectives and, okay, since you're going to transfer to our school, we have a collective set up that's going to pay you to go do these things that our team's going to set up as little team events. Those are going to count as your image is going to be there, and we can advertise that you're going to be there. But now it's just it's supposed to have been like, hey, Chris, if you want to come on to Inside the Hawg Pen as a player, they have the opportunity to pay you for it. Instead of now it's just, hey, we're going to make you feel a little entitled to your money. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pay you whatever, and you can go do whatever you want. If you want to transfer, hey, cool, whatever. But it's not supposed to have been like that. It's supposed to be like you're using your name for NCAA football. You're supposed to be using your name for radio insert here, radio advertisement. You know, you're supposed to, that was the whole intent. And then the whole collectives came in, and it's kind of just muddied up everything, honestly, because now it's more pay for play than it is endorsement monies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about the rules there, but if I'm a player, like I'm going to go on this side of things. If I'm a player, I am finding every loophole to make money. Like, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I don't blame the players themselves, besides the Nico situation where he kind of, it just seemed a little bit scummy there. But yeah, that's just my insight on that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if I'm a kid that, you know, I'm going to look for every loophole I can to make as much as I can, no matter what. But here's a side of this we haven't talked about yet that, and I don't know that anybody's talked about this on the national scene with Tennessee and Arkansas both. Do you guys think with Arkansas and Tennessee both going after these guys to try to recoup some of that money, do you think that has any kind of negative effect on future recruiting?
It's a good question.
You see, I mean, do you see where I'm going with that?
Answer this first.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I can. Do you have anything, Dmad?
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, SEC football, if you were to walk into a recruiting thing, they're going to throw every single sign of mud that they can to get you to sign for them. They will take their skin off their back to get you to sign with them. And then they'll get you there and they wouldn't give you anything. So, but, you know, you're going to have people like Brian Kelly at LSU start talking about how Arkansas, if you want to transfer, you know, they're going to try to get their money back from you. They need all the money they have. And then you turn around and go, LSU, oh, we've got all the money, you know. You don't have to worry about anything. If you want to transfer, you can keep the money. We don't care. You know, they're just going to throw as much mud as they can at Arkansas and Tennessee for this. But I think at the end of the day, I think that a lot of the coaches around the country are probably happy that this is happening because coaches are control freaks. Let's be honest here. They can't control NIL. They can't control which player goes into the transfer portal. They used to be able to go, hey man, you're going to get cut. Go ahead and go to the transfer portal. But now it's more of like you're having to recruit your roster year after year after year. And recruiting 100 players on a football team is insane. Yeah. And then plus the 20 coming in, and then the other 20 that you're trying to get out of the portal. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of mudslinging, but I think the coaches are actually secretly rooting for it. And I've seen people on Twitter just kind of gauging the national interest on this. You know, you're seeing a lot of this on Twitter, just being picked up by On3. I saw Clay Travis tweeted about
Outkick.
it.
Yeah.
It's starting to gain traction. I think John Boy even said something about it, but
I've seen a lot of No3.
Yeah.
You see the No3 account?
Yeah.
But I've seen more people rooting for Arkansas through this than they have for the brothers. But
I'll tell you who's happy about this is Dabo.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's the most anti-NIL guy out there, and he's got to be loving this right now.
Yeah, I think he did take a victory lap the other day on it.
Dabo? No, surely not.
Did he say something?
I'm thinking he did. Let me see.
Yeah, he had a comment. I don't remember the exact comment, but it was this is not verbatim, but basically he was saying, "Be careful what you ask for." You know, because you'll end up getting it. That was the meaning behind what I don't remember exactly what he said, but that was the meaning behind it, you know. And I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the long run. And is it going to be one of these that, I mean, is it actually, you know, are they going to settle out of court, or is it actually going to go to surely it won't go to like some kind of trial. I mean, you got to get the lawyers in a room and they work this out, because neither of the two brothers nor any of the schools involved want this thing to drag out. But I can't blame Arkansas and Tennessee for doing it, because eventually the bubble was going to burst eventually. And like we've said earlier, somebody was going to have to be made an example out of, and this is just where it fell. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see what happens, especially later on this summer after the whole rev share thing kicks in. I think that goes into effect July, I believe, on the whole athletic revenue sharing thing with athletes. And I think that's going to be a whole nother obstacle, I guess is a good way to put it, on how they divvy up the money and what goes where. And because, I mean, are you going to have, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but are you going to have women's gymnastic athletes getting the same cut of money that baseball players get? Are you going to have? Yeah. I mean, I'm
going to clip this.
Right. Yeah. But, I mean, because you can't give women's basketball and men's basketball players equal cuts in my opinion. I think you've got to look at who brings in what revenue and then try to figure it out from there. I don't know. It's going to take somebody a whole lot smarter than me to figure it out, but I think you're going to have to tier it. I don't think you can just say everybody gets this amount across the board. I think it's going to have to be tiers, but we'll see what happens with it come. I believe that's July when that comes in later on this summer. So that'll be very interesting to watch as well. So, all right, as we're getting ready to wrap this up here, keys to victory this weekend for the baseball Hogs down at Florida. Chris, what do you got?
Just hitting like they have been for the majority of the year. I mean, they're going to do everything else well. I mean, hitting in 2 is Geikel throwing.
Gackle. Yeah.
He's got to throw the ball well.
I thought he looked good coming out. He looked better coming out of the pen than he had as a starter. And is that can that be a mental thing for him? Maybe
I'd say from what I've heard from pitchers, and if you're an experienced pitcher, you could call me an idiot here, but if you're watching, but from what I've heard is that you have a lot of time before your starts, and a lot of guys that are used to being out of the pen don't know what to do. They get a little too anxious and they get going a little too early, get going a little too slow, this, that, whatever. Okay. Probably get going a little too early, probably leaning that way. And then when you're kind of in a fire drill out of the bullpen, you know what your routine is. That could be it, or it could just be, by happenstance. Or
guys, I've had fun tonight. I appreciate it. Chris, thank you so much for coming back on with us. Dmad, man, you filling in perfectly. You're filling that seat. We may not give it back to Zach. I don't know, because you're doing such a great job over there. But
he's gonna have a nice little man cave when he comes back.
Yeah, he's gonna come back next week, rip roaring, ready to go. So we'll be back next week here for another episode of Inside the Hog Pen. For Chris Lanzili, Dmad, Dylan Madden, I'm your boy MC Carlton. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this episode of Inside the Hog Pen. Listen anytime on your favorite podcast provider, and be sure to follow us on all our social network channels.